I'm a bozo. You recognize it. Many people like it.
Let's make a toast forever and ever. Let's make a toast forever and ever.
Yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Upful Life podcast. I'm your host, B. Getz, and this is episode number 22 coming at ya. Deuce, live and direct from the Vibe Junkie Studios in Oakland, California. And it's been a minute, but I am so happy that you are tuning in.
How them take this thing for? They don't know if I'm not metallic, me rich. Me work hard for a slice of the cake, yeah. While some of kids say them can't get a break. Keep it real even though them a fake. Show them love even though them a snake, yeah. Scream them a scream cause them head in a cake. Share we a share but I take them a take. Work man a work while some just awake. That was their mistake. Me used to hear your brother till we start make cheddar. Now me so far leather. Me so-called friend them change like the weather.
And we're back here at the Upful Life podcast. I know I was going to say I was doing it every 3 weeks, a new episode, but this one was almost a month. So I apologize for folks that have been holding out. It's a whirlwind end of the summer, to say the least. And just kind of took a minute to decompress from Burning Man and circle the wagons. But now I've got a couple episodes in the pipeline, get back on track. So really stoked to drop this Deuce episode number 22 on the heels of another sojourn to the desert for Burning Man. We have a little bit of Burning Man content here and there on the podcast, and I probably can expect a bit more. A really inspiring trip to the desert with my partner Alicia and the Abraxas crew, who I talked about on the last episode. But I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you and give a deep bow not only to the Abraxas crew, but, you know, Burning Man itself, the Burning Man project, the citizens and denizens of Black Rock City, and all the artists, artisans, creators, participators who, you know, kind of come together and create the alchemy that is Black Rock City. There's no place like it on earth. It only happens 1 week out of the year, but what a week it is. And you know, the music is always a major part of my experience, but this year kind of just went more on the adventure tip. But I did publish an article about some of my favorite music from Burning Man this year, and you can check that out if you just go to the upfullife.com page. It's called I Only Smoke Girl Blunts, and it's just a look back at some of my favorite musical experiences, which included the Tool album release on the day it came out. Abraxas drove out to Deep Playa on the Golden Dragon art car, and we debuted the album like a couple thousand people deep through a Function One system. It was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience, and that was just one of many. We had some epic dance sessions to the likes of Murillo, the Night of the Manburn, and the Camp Mystic Party on Wednesday night, which featured Closey, first ever Burning Man set, as well as a fantastic set from Antenna in the Medicine Crunk style. You know, the Mayan Warrior had Bedouin, that was amazing one morning. the White Procession on Abraxas with this new cat, DJ Bamboo, and this godfather of the scene, El Papachango. I could go on. There was great live music at Reverbia and Crossroads Collective. But I encourage you to check out the article that I put out. It's more like a blog post of just a first-person narrative of some of my favorite stuff. A shout-out to Person and the Librarian. They crushed it out there. Camp Question Mark threw down as usual. Leland River from British Columbia was another one of my faves. So I'll be playing a bunch of that music in the coming weeks on the podcast. I know we do a lot of funk and groove and hip-hop here, but I'm really into electronic music, and I like to think a sizable portion of the listenership is as well. And took a deep dive in that arena when we went to Burning Man, and inspired from that, we're just going to explore that realm just as thorough as we do the New Orleans Jazz Fest, funk, lettuce, etc. With that, we're going to pivot into episode 22's featured guest, none other than SMASHELTOOTH herself. Ashley was in town to play a benefit for my friend Greg Geiger, who had lost his leg on a motorbike accident, hit and run, this past March. So when she was in town to play the benefit, we had the opportunity to sit down and rap.
You're a Rasta youth named Jamal, listen, on the turntable.
This one is a Gadman Dubs. What you talking about? What you talking about? Man a true king, you're a Buffalo Scout. Man a true king, you're a Buffalo Scout. What you talking about? Shut up. What you talking about? Sit down. Just stay quiet on big man, this but start a right.
So SMASHELTOOTH I first encountered when I moved out here to the West Coast. She's a beloved DJ, selecta, personality, force of nature, one of a kind, and really interesting person. And that's why I was keen to interview her when she came down here to play the benefit for Greg. So I reached out to her, and she was down to do it. I don't really know her outside of just like some hello, how are yous at a festival or at the Haven. When I first encountered her, she opening for Mad Zach at the Haven in Nevada City some years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Went with my boy Otis. We went up there to hear Mad Zach, but we left talking about SMASHELTOOTH. So anyway, yeah, that was my introduction to her, and then I just kind of got put on the social media radar. She, before motherhood, she was really active and outspoken on social media, and it's just interesting to learn about, other sides of the culture and other personalities of the culture, especially strong-willed, outspoken, progressive, and just all-around colorful women like Ashley. So what really drew me into her is a post she made early after she had her son Johnny, who she talks about extensively in the interview. She had a really emotional post which was interwoven with her relationship to a particular reggae song by the band Stick Figure. I'm relatively unfamiliar with, but I checked out the song. She'll talk about it at length in the interview, but what that post revealed about who she is as a human being was so gripping that it just made me want to know more about her, where she comes from in an artistic perspective, human, otherwise. And yeah, it was in the aftermath of the ghost ship. Well, she was very close to that whole situation, and that's another topic that we talk about. We talk a lot about being a female in the music industry, which is something a topic I'll broach with my female guests, and she was open to exploring that at length. We talked a bit about her partnership with the Pirate, Andrew, a big-time DJ out of Santa Cruz. They both moved up to Portland, Oregon, outskirts in recent times, but they're kind of like a legendary, celebrated celebrity Santa Cruz couple, if you will, and really cool cats, and it was interesting to hear her discuss their path coming together and starting a family. And we also talked a bit about the Grateful Dead, because Andrew's a big-time Deadhead from out here in Cali, even though he's like a reggae guy and a dubstep guy. The kind of thing I connected with him with is our shared love of the Grateful Dead, and inevitably, hard as she tried to reject all things Dead for most of her life, eventually they got through to SMASHELTOOTH. So we talked just about the omnipresence of the Grateful Dead a little bit as well, and then we touched into some other stuff, like about her being really pro-LGBT and progressive in nature with what she supports in terms of human rights and equality. Yet, other than Mac Dre, she says Sizzla is her biggest influence and hero musically and artistically, in his militant stance of, just intolerance of homosexuality of all kinds. And I just freestyled that one, and we really dug deep on that topic too. So I'm trying not to spill all the beans in the intro, but let you guys know this is a long interview. It's like almost an hour and a half, but really engaging conversation with a fascinating DJ and special human. SMASHELTOOTH. Coming right up. You're listening to the Up for Life podcast, and I'm your host, B. Getz. And I'm here with SMASHELTOOTH.
That's me.
Ashley, who's visiting to play our dear friend Greg Geiger's fundraiser. Greg is one of my dearest buddies, a fellow Jersey expat living here in the Bay Area like myself, who sadly lost his leg in a hit-and-run accident on his motorbike back in March. Ashley was kind enough to come down here from Bumblefuck, Oregon, you said?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Portland, Oregon.
Portland.
But Southwest, out there, Portland.
Okay. And flew in, and she's got a whole Rage team ready to hang with her, but she's managed to squeeze the Up for Life podcast in for a little while. So thank you, Ashley.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really
welcome to the
excited.
show.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm
Honored to be here.
Yeah, and it's a long and winding road to get here in terms of just figuring out what how I was going to approach this, and I was really just grateful that you were interested in talking, and it gave me some motivation to kind of like get my shit together for this interview.
Yeah, DJs don't get to talk much, so I'll take the opportunity if I can get it.
Yeah. Well, first things first, you had said you travel here from Portland, but you've recently moved to Portland, and you're in our Bay Area, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I was in Santa Cruz for about 12 years, and I had moved there because I met my husband. I was driving through Santa Cruz getting ready to sell some shrooms at a festival. I had dreadlocks and, sold mushroom chocolates out of a picnic basket at that time. Barely was even in the festival scene at all. I had just kind of discovered it through a friend of mine, and I actually was in LA in the film industry, so quite the opposite lifestyle till I found this festival scene and started doing more psychedelics and kind of found myself, if you will. And I think so many people get to do that in this scene, which is really beautiful and also really terrifying, because sometimes people go a little too far to find themselves and they can't come back. But long story short, I'm going off on tangents here. I was driving through Santa Cruz and I met a young man. He was in his 20s. He's 20, actually. He couldn't even get into bars yet. He wore a poncho all the time, every day. And my friends all called him Shaggy. And they were like, why are you so into this guy? And I was like, he's just the most handsome thing I've ever seen in my life. And 12 years later, we are married with a child. So be careful. These festivals will domesticate you, whether you believe it or not.
I believe
that's
it.
kind of what happens.
I mean, I met my fiance at a festival.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
So I feel you. On the other side of the country, but still.
Yeah, we met at Lightning in a Bottle. We actually met at Lightning in a Bottle. We were doing drugs behind a tree. And then in Santa Cruz, we saw each other again, probably doing the same thing. And ended up making out in the backseat of my car for like 4 hours or something. And the rest is history.
That's a beautiful story. That's not your average love story or a festival story, but it's kind of the best of both worlds, if you will.
Yeah.
Everybody hopes when they pack up the car and go for the weekend that, they're going to dance their ass off and they're going to meet the one.
Yes.
And you got to do
and
both
we did
for life.
first kiss on the dance floor, which was very romantic. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And we actually ended up getting married on the same dance floor. We went back to the festival, Rain Dance Festival, which eventually became my husband's festival that he throws with Little John. And we went back there to get married, and so we got to get married and have our ceremony right on the dance floor where we met, where we made out and kissed, and also we named our son after Little John, who started Rain Dance Festival, because Rain Dance really brought us together and really brought me what I wanted in my life, which was love and a family, and I was able to get that from festivaling, and I think ultimately festivaling came from me looking to find myself and feeling lost and finding family, the best family I could find to find myself.
Yeah.
So it's really shifted my life and in major ways, and not for everyone, but it's a path I chose, and goddamn, it's been exciting. It's been a whirlwind, a roller coaster, but it's been fun. Very, very, a lot of fun has been had. So that's my love story in a nutshell right there.
That's awesome. And it's not only just because I got engaged to a lovely woman who I met at a festival, but I similarly can identify on a lot of levels. I feel like contemporary culture writes off the festival world as this sort of escape, but when you make it your life and you invest in yourself and the art and the relationships and the community building, and sure, there's plenty of partying and carnage and drugs and darkness, but if you weather that storm, the really, really some unspeakable bonds and relationships and life experiences that manifest out of that, such as meeting your partner and having a family, and and then making the event basically a family affair. I mean, that's awesome, on so many levels, and I'm glad that we started there, because I've been going to festivals on the East Coast when I was coming up, and the Jazz Fest in New Orleans and the early Bonnaroos and all that stuff, but it wasn't until I landed out here really penniless and with very little direction in a dark place that the same affiliated festival world community that you speak of took me in.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of us start there, that penniless wandering soul, and that's why we're all doing the same thing together, and we all grow together, and then 2 years, 3 years, 4 years go by, and you start grounding out more, and then you see those same people who were you coming in too.
Precisely.
And you take them in, and it's this cycle. It's
just
this
like
really
people
beautiful
did
family.
You.
Yes.
Schooled you and told you, you don't take those drugs and don't go to that set and all that shit.
Yes.
And you kind of file that away.
Yes.
And then the tables get turned, and then you're that.
It's pretty miraculous. It's really special. It's really special, especially for us. I want to say weirdos, but just people that can't live the status quo.
Yeah.
And don't have any interest in doing so.
But I mean, I would say with you, respectfully, for festival world, you're a weirdo. You are extreme on a lot of levels, and that's part of the reason why I want to do the interview, is because I really feel like the character of SMASHELTOOTH, is there's a lot of copycat shit out there, but there's only one you, and I learned that, as I was telling you off the air, when I first saw you play at the Haven in Nevada City, and I don't need to tell you, there's DJs 3 nights a week there, and it's a whole thing, and it's a scene, and there's a social scene that's very incestuous and beautiful and all kinds of things. but the energy that came over the room when you got on the decks,
Aw.
specifically you, and the way women react to you.
Mm-hmm. The ladies love me.
Yeah, I mean, we all love it. But women are empowered something different by you.
Well, I think it's just taking.
I want to explore that.
Yeah, it's such a double-edged sword with that one because, I play music that's offensive to women. But what I'm doing is reclaiming that and kind of creating an alchemy where I can take that really offensive song and then become empowered as a woman from it. My story, and everyone has a story, is that I had some sexual trauma when I was younger, and I would cry every time I had sex. And I did that for many years, and it was terrifying, and I had a big issue with it. And eventually I got to editing films, and I got a job editing pornography. So I was in pornography. I wasn't in the movies, but I made money working in pornography. And I learned that to be sexual is empowering, and to want to have sex is empowering, and to be a slut or a whore or enjoy sex or be promiscuous was actually something that I admired in other women. So to me, like, this music about, bitches wanting to fuck or like whatever shit most people think is offensive, to me, with my story, did the opposite of what it does to a lot of people where they find it offensive. To me, I found it really liberating and admirable and empowering. And so I just would play stuff that made me feel sexy and made me feel empowered. And sometimes that would even be like guys talking about pimping or whatever. Like, it just moved me, made me dance. And then I learned over time, when I would play that music, the women would like it too. Yeah. And the only people that I ever had to argue about my music with were ironically men.
Right.
So the men the two times I've gotten kicked off the stage were both from men telling me that my music was offensive to women, which is extremely ironic and also uncalled for, and also
they
brought.
Had to just be tone deaf. I mean, you book you know it's coming.
Yeah, that's exactly. But 10 years ago, there was like trap was a thing, but people in the music scene were not playing trap. They were playing glitch hop.
Right.
I remember trap, when rap started being played at music festivals, it was like fucking the world was over. Like, just so many, like, I remember someone who owned Function Ones didn't want the bad music, negative music coming out of their Function One. They were like sonic sound system of whatever psychedelic, I don't know. Like it was just like a spiritual thing for them.
I get that.
It's even hard to explain.
I know. I get it. You've never been around.
They didn't want the Too Short coming out as like fractals into their like the sonic sounds of sonic eardrums of people on the dance floor, this kind of thing. So I respect that also, if that's not what you believe in, and if that's something that really is offensive to you, that's their story. And there's this whole thing about everyone has their story, and everyone's story to me is acceptable, and that's what unconditional love is all about. And people have different stories. That's what makes the world go around. That's what makes us all not be robots.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it does cause conflict, and I've had to stand up for myself for so long that I wish I could be where I'm at now 10 years ago, because the decade of fighting for myself and for my rights as a woman in this industry has just, I'm done. Like, I'm exhausted, and I don't know what's next for me. I love playing shows. I love DJing, but I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I am really eager to produce music. I want to stay home more. I love my house. It's like Disneyland. I have a lovely husband. I've got a beautiful 2.5-year-old now who's so much fun. I love being around him. I live in this new town in Portland after being in a small town for a long time. I'm meeting new friends, new people who inspire me, new artists, and I'm like, I just want to be home and really dig in and just explore what's internal instead of like going out to these shows and staying up all night, and which I love also, but guys, come on, I'm almost 40 now, okay? Right. Like, am I going to be like 50 or 60 in a club? Like, and I know it's been done before, but I'm ready for the next thing.
I get that. I mean, I'm 41, and I don't want to retire yet, but I get, like, I don't need to be out all the time, and I understand the yearning to just want to settle into community, and I don't even have a spouse or a child yet, but I can understand. And we're getting ahead. I wanted to kind of talk just a little bit, because one of the reasons why I asked you is because one of the intentions I set for the show was I want to have empowering, inspiring women in the music culture that are like doing it on their own terms, that aren't like puppets or aren't like hypersexualized or any of that, but instead are just like, yo, this is me, hear me roar, like it or not. Peace, you know? Yeah. Nobody more than you know? And you just have like, you not confused with someone who has fucks to give. You know
That's very well. You see how much I cry, then you might think I give some fucks.
Well, that's different.
You can ask any of my friends. They're like, "Oh, there she is crying again."
You don't make excuses for yourself or like what you're doing. You're out here like and putting it out there like, "Hey, I survived sexual trauma, and it was through pornography that I understood how to reclaim that." I mean, that's bold in itself.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of parallels. We could go down a couple different rabbit holes in terms of like women who do perform, you know, like pornography, and like, is that demeaning or are they empowering? And then that's not a broad stroke. It's some women are a prisoner to the trauma, and that's why they're there, and some women are overcoming the trauma, and that's why they're there. They might even be in the same scene, right? And same with you.
Some of them just don't even care,
right? Some
about it
women are
all.
Just going to get up and play whatever gets them booked, and some women are going to really get intentional with what they're playing, and you're somewhere in the middle because you're not like super serious. You know, but at the same time, like, there's a reason why you take it there and are willing to get kicked off the stage if it goes that way, because it's important to you to give women and people, you know, probably LGBT, or just anyone who's been oppressed in some sort of, like, told that their sexual feelings are in any way not right or inadequate. To give them the power back is a righteous thing. And if that comes at some hurt feelings from some like Om Shanti cats who can't hear too short, fuck them.
Yes,
you
fuck them, fuck them.
And so I admire that.
Suck them, then fuck them.
Right.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, I even wear a hat. I don't know if you guys have seen my No Ma'am hat that I wear all the time, but it's from Married with Children.
Right.
And it's Al Bundy starts a club in his basement called Men Against Amazonian Masterhood. No Ma'am, with a big cross against like the women's sign on it, and I just fucking love that hat because I go out and people just stare at me. They're like looking at the hat and looking at me, and they're like, "Is that a woman?" Or yes. Is that a lesbian woman? Yeah. Is that like a transgender person? Maybe. And like I just love this like fucking with people in that way, you know, and it's not like a bad fucking with or anything. It's kind of like I love clowning.
Holding a mirror up to them and like making them confront whatever preconceived.
Yeah, and then getting up as a woman and wearing the hat and then playing like rap music. I mean, to me, I get a kick out of it. I don't know. I don't care who else does, but I think I'm very clever.
Yeah, but I also think musically, if the music sucked, then it wouldn't matter. And I think like I was just like thinking about on the way over and past couple of days when I knew this was coming up and listening to some of your stuff. Like you really have a fine curating.
I love it.
You really take the best of all this awesome shit, like, you know, heavy on the dance hall vibes, heavy on the fucking Oaktown hip hop, which is poorly represented for the most part. It's always Atlanta or New York or LA, but never the Bay. Then you have that really old school, like early era dubstep, like real minimalist shit.
I'm going to be playing a lot of that tonight. Well, I'm lucky that I've been doing this for so long because I have a 10-year long library.
Right.
So if I don't have time to go look for new songs, which lately I'm having a hard time doing, I dig deep into my library of 10 years ago, and what was popular 10 years ago, people think like they've never heard it before, because a lot of those people weren't partying back then, and that shit is fucking crazy. It's so good, and it's timeless. So you can just break out all those old jams, and people don't even know that it's an old jam.
And the depth of what you do, like because I'm a big fan of reggae music. More, I guess, like older reggae, but I love dancehall too. But when I was trying to explain to Alicia like about you. I was like dance hall slackness.
Slackness.
Right?
Oh yeah,
she's
it's my
like,
favorite.
She's scratching her head. I'm like, it's just like the shit you don't
like
like to hear Sizzla say. Like when you're like, oh, come on, buddy, like that on like on fleek. You know, as they say, like just really, really ugliness of the raunch. But
super raunchy. That's a good word.
Yeah, but like it's like the Trina of dancehall.
Yes,
right?
Totally.
But you go there, you take that, but still you don't lose any of the balls, as they say. Still like really, really gutter shit. You know?
Yeah, pussy power, or I don't know, ball power.
Yeah,
whatever. There's this artist from LA. Her name's Medusa, and I had her cassette tape. And she has this fucking song, and I've been trying to get it from her forever because I want to remix it so bad. And it's called The Power of the P. And the first line is, the power of the P is mesmerizing, hypnotizing. When it says jump, you say how high. It's like this whole song about the pussy. And I think, like, because growing up in LA, I had such an inspiration to go into my music from that rap background, from the LA rap background. Like so it was like Freestyle Fellowship. Underground. Mike and Nine, Medusa, Living Legends. Which I did, Eli, and then up here it was like Souls of Mischief and
Pyro,
and then down there I was roommates with Jay Soul, who has his own radio show in LA now on KCRW, and he was just a vinyphile, and I got access to all, and he had all these like Murs was always over there, and it was just like that whole lifestyle. So as a like sort of hippied out, like dreadlocked, like underground LA rap music girl, which is already weird in itself.
That's awesome.
Finding the bass music and never having heard it before, and not only that, but like instantly meeting my like partner, moving into that whole world was kind of like this. It was just a perfect storm of weird taste in music that would bring me to the genres that I play.
So did you find the Dead through Andrew, or did you already?
Oh God, no! I did not like the Dead at all. I actually hated the Dead because I got.
A big Dead guy.
Yes, he's a huge Dead guy. Yes, and when I gave birth to my son, the only fucking music that would make my son stop crying was Jerry Garcia. It wasn't the Grateful Dead. It was always Jerry. Right. So we got Not for Kids Only, which was one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life. I cry. Have you heard I cry before? Yeah. I cry sometimes. And there's one song on there that I can't listen to without crying. It's just fucking beautiful. And we took Johnny Ryder, my son, to his first concert, which was Dad & Co. at the Shoreline Amphitheater when he was a year old. Yeah. But I do remember going to the Grateful Dead before and hugging my friend, super high on acid, crying, wishing for the god of Dennis Brown to come save us from this horrible music. So
like an actual Dead show when Jerry was still alive?
No. It was Dad & Co. Yeah. Okay. And I remember hugging her, hating the music so much, just wishing Dennis Brown, or was it John? No, it was Dennis Brown. Yeah, would come down from the sky and save us from this horrible, awful Grateful Dead shit that I was listening to. And then eventually I ended up liking that. So I don't know. That was interesting. But I was praying for reggae to come save me.
That's understandable. There used to be a big crossover between like the sort of reggae on the river culture and West Coast Dead culture, if you will. There was like a lot of this sort of crisscross. That's how I got introduced to the Gregory Isaacs and Dennis Brown stuff.
Oh, so you went the opposite.
Old Deadheads. Like you
like Grateful Dead, and then you went to reggae. I liked reggae, and then went to Grateful Dead.
Yeah, I was a metal guy first, and still like I was like a Slayer, you know.
And
then eventually I got hit to the Dead, and I saw Jerry quite a bit before he died.
Oh,
I was
lucky.
really young.
Oh man.
And I got just turned on by my cousin and my older half sister, and they took me to I saw 9 Dead shows, 1 Jerry Band show, and then he died when I was 17.
Oh wow.
And it was kind of like, now what? And then. Never really plugged that hole since then. I mean, I love
John Mayer didn't plug the hole for you,
no, I'm not going to hate on Dead Company,
but
it just doesn't do it for me.
I know. I mean, I'm new to that whole thing, and
do you feel it though when you go and you see like all these generations and somebody like your husband who couldn't be further from like punk rock and reggae and dubstep and like everything that's decidedly undead, and then you put him at a Dead show and he's like 12-year-old boy like. Right?
Yes. Yeah,
that
he's
has
got-
to speak to you on some
Yeah, and
spiritual level.
well, it's ironic because I have a good friend, Rodleen Getzik, and she sang with the Grateful Dead, and she was one of my really good friends, and she would take me to John Gilmore's house, who owns Sun Microsystems and lives in Toad Hall in San Francisco, and I would hang out with Bob Weir and John Perry Barlow all the time. But I never liked the Grateful Dead, so I didn't give a shit who these people were, but I was hanging out with them all the time. So there's this weird, like, path I feel like I've taken also that has brought me into this family, and I feel like I was like destined to be a part of it in some weird fucking way, like not just the Dead family but family, like a family bigger than your blood family. And the thing that I like about the Grateful Dead, which is what we were talking about earlier, is that you see someone with a Grateful Dead patch or button or pin on, and they will save your fucking life if you need it. They will give you the clothes off your back
just
if you need
have
it. Yes, and it's family, and you could be anywhere in the fucking world, and if someone else is wearing a Grateful Dead patch, it's like they will family instantly. And I wish there was like a dubstep bass music patch we could all wear that was universal. That would be pretty sweet. But it's that feeling of belonging. Everyone, at the end of the day, everyone wants to belong, and that's what every human wants, whether they know it or not. They want to feel accepted and loved and like they belong. And I think it's our duty, if we're going to be a DJ, I really do think, instead of isolating everyone and being a dick or being all full of yourself or being jealous and curmudgeon-y or whatever, like, it's your job to make people in that community feel like they belong. And that's kind of where, that's why I'm probably so nice that I've never made it in this business, because I can't do those cutthroat, like, I just can't be cutthroat in this business. I can't be cutthroat at all, ever.
It just doesn't come naturally to you.
Yeah, and I don't have time for it. I'd rather be broke on the streets, like, with no money, you know, like, and full of love and friends and family, than have all the money in the world and be a dick.
Right.
Which I see a lot in this scene. It's really sad and fucked up.
It is. It sucks when the ego takes over and it corrupts all the things. And we don't have to talk about who or whatever, but we see it happen, and, you know, people that we might have admired in the past and then not so much anymore, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That's kind of like soul crushing. And it happened, honestly, even with the Dead, as I've come to know and studying and reading, and, like, you know, they were all far from perfect, and there's some really dark underbellies to even the Grateful Dead hippie dream.
Oh, I've seen it, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from California, you know, it's no secret. But I just think that it's a beautiful thing that brings people together, and that's, like, ironically why I'm sitting here talking to you, because I talked to Andrew about the Dead. He explained to me that they threw the Chinese New Year party as sort of like a nod to the Dead doing that, and that, like, melted me. I was like, dude, that is it.
And now they can't call it that anymore because of cultural appropriation. The same thing with Rain Dance too. There was a Dead show, so they started calling it Rain Dance because the Dead used to do a Rain Dance too, and that's a cultural appropriation now, so they're reconsidering naming it that.
I remember when he broke it to me, he's like, this is going to be the last year of Chinese New Year, and even this year there's some blowback, and it's like, but like, there's such history there, and he's like, you don't get it, like, people get pissed, and next thing you know, there's bad press, and it's like, I hear you, but the reason I wanted to go to the 10-15 for Chinese New Year, I mean, honestly, as much as I love y'all and Dim and Saints and all that shit, it was like, I felt like I was replugging into that Dead history of having a Chinese New Year party.
Oh my God, did you tell that to Andrew?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he knows all about it. I was
That's
like
amazing.
blown away by it. It was like, I have to, and I wrote a story.
Awesome.
I did an article about the event that year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's so cool. I want to read it.
But that's sort of what made me, like, realize, you know, and then I follow along on the social media, and, like, the Johnny Ryder thing and Little John, and knowing how, like, Little John saw hundreds of Dead shows, and, you know, he's
my gosh,
he's like the guru.
Sorry to interrupt, but you want to hear something fucking crazy? So we moved to Portland. We were bummed because we had put our son on all these waiting lists in Santa Cruz, but we moved to Portland, and of course we had to go start over again on the waiting list. We find this one, and we do this interview, and it's perfect. Not only is the owner from Santa Cruz, but his teacher went to UCSC, so she would kind of, like, have that Santa Cruz vibe or whatever. So on the application I wrote, at the end of September, my husband throws this festival called Rain Dance. She sends me this text. She's like, I just read your application. Do you know someone named Little John? And I was like, yes. I was like, we only named our son after him. And she was like, shut up, no way. We were on Dead tour together in the 90s.
Perfect.
And I guess, like, they were on tour together in the 90s and they know each other. And it's like this whole weird connection. And so we got bumped up on the guest list, or on the waiting list. And I'm so used to saying guest list as a DJ, guys. And he's in the school now, but it's all because we partied together. Our families partied together in the 90s,
Yeah. No,
you know, and
that's
it's
again,
that's what I'm
universal
saying.
thing.
That family connection. It's fucking.
beautiful.
We look out for each other.
Yeah, and I hope that eventually extends to the greater festival community. And I think it will, as like people start to have families and have kids and like marry other people in the community and such. But you're right, the Dead thing, beyond the music, love it or hate it, the community thing is special, and that's something that, like, I was a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid in the burbs who didn't want for anything. My parents were like middle class, and I didn't, I wasn't struggling, but there was something missing, and I found my way to a Dead show, and it was like, welcome to the rest of your life.
That's what happened with Andrew.
And it was like literally shaped who I am.
Amazing.
In so many profound ways, so far beyond music. So I always like to find people's connection to it, and it's interesting that it was like the worst shit ever to you for so long, and you had to take the long way around.
I went the long way.
But here
That's
you are.
for sure.
It's
Well,
awesome.
it's funny too because I always wear red, white, and blue, and I'm like, oh, I always liked the Steely.
Yeah.
Like even when I didn't know
You
the
have a
Grateful
theme song.
Dead.
You got a theme song.
It's so, and it's Americana, which I'm all about America. Everyone always bugs me about my America thing.
I was
and-
wondering what the roots of the whole patriotism,
my
SMASHELTOOTH
first Burning Man, guys. Okay, I'm gonna go there right now. Was 2008, so it was the American Dream, and I ate so much acid, and I lost all my friends, and I was cruising around by myself for like what seemed like days. It was probably only like 12 hours or something, but it was a pretty good period of time. And I had this just the best, like most fucking phenomenal acid trip. And
You learn a lot about yourself in those 12
yes,
hours.
and that's when SMASHELTOOTH was born. It was like the stars and stripes and just the colors of red, white, and blue, and it's just like imprinted in my brain. And I went back and I was thinking, well, what else can I do that nobody's done? I was like, I play rap music at bass shows, and I can wear patriotic colors because everyone hates America who live in America.
Right.
So it was like these two things that I was doing to like
Buck the system.
to like stand out and also fuck the system, and also I just like the aesthetic of it. And I've been wearing the same skirt and the same pants for like 10 years when I DJ, and they become, I don't know what I'm gonna do when these things like crumble. I actually am not wearing them tonight, but I am wearing an old shirt that I got like 8 years ago. But I have uniforms,
Right, I
like
noticed that.
I'm an athlete or something, and
I
I
love
keep
that.
these same uniforms, and there's all this juju and
Yeah.
hippie sweat and like festival sweat in them, and times in my life and beautiful people I love who aren't here anymore, like stuck in those clothes.
Yeah.
And I still wear them. So I don't know, it's another interesting thing, but that's kind of where the patriotic thing came from, and also just feeling like America's my little sad sick child who I love, and I want it so badly to get better. And to get it better, you need to love it more and not walk away. And that's why I wear patriotic colors. And I do believe that as fucked up as things are right now, maybe Trump is here to show us the underbelly of our culture so we can address that and hopefully improve on that in the future.
Without getting too political, I wanted to see where, because I firmly believe that that's the reason why he became president, is because we were just numbing ourselves to what we
The
really
reality.
were and trying to like pretend we. But I'm not co-signing anything about him.
I
I'm
agree.
just saying that we deserve him, and we earn
It's
this.
an interesting reflection.
It's just my opinion without getting super
Yeah, I
political.
definitely
but
don't wanna
when
get
you talk-
political.
When you talk about patriotism, is times like now, are you more inclined to put the colors on and kind of like step into that part of yourself, or
It's harder
is it
to.
more nauseating?
It's hard. I have to really own it now, whereas before people didn't even really notice.
It was just like your shtick.
Now I'm, it was my shtick, and I go to the airport dressed in SMASHELTOOTH outfit, and like no one would really even say anything. They might look at me funny, but now I feel like if I'm dressed like that, like, I'm going to be super honest with you. The other day I was dressed up all patriotic and I walked past a black woman and I was like, does she think I'm a Trump supporter?
Right.
And that went through my head and I felt really insecure. I felt insecure being myself, you know, and I was like, fuck, like, while, right? Yes. And I was like, maybe I have to either rethink what I'm doing or have something on me also that kind of claims my stance. I have a Bernie pin on my hat, but I don't know if that, she's not going to look at that. But it was the first time I ever felt insecure dressed in my uniform.
Interesting.
And that was a new thing, and this just happened like 3 days ago. Wow. Something like that, yeah. Gave me something to think about. Yeah,
and it's important. I think that you, like, whatever is there is a reason, like, why you're feeling that way and why you walk by that woman and stuff. And I was thinking, like, I saw that shit online where that woman got married and, like, all that crazy, obnoxious Trump regalia. Like, it was like a wedding dress with a Make America Great Again theme.
Oh, jeez.
Like, it was awful and hilarious and all the things, right? But I was saying, like, you shouldn't have to put that sort of, like, post those kind of bills on your, quote, uniform to convey, like, you never did before. This is, like, who you are and what you're about. And, like, no fucking dictator, president, whatever you want to call him, is going to change that. But then again, you don't want to send a message to a person of color when you walk by them that you're like, you're not on the same team.
Yeah, and that's fucked
weird.
Up. It's very, and it's new. And, I mean, and the reason that I love America is because I grew up here. I got married here. I fell in love here. I had a good education here. Like, you know, I had a fun, like, street education also. I was able to be in the film industry in LA. That was fun. I'm having fun in this country. Like, I've had fun here.
It's a good time.
And I've fallen in love and I've loved and been loved, and it's like, I'm not going to turn around and just fuck you to my country. You know what I mean? Like, I have had a great experience here, being born here. I can't imagine what it's like for people who weren't born here, coming here. But that's not my story. Like I said, everyone has a story, and my story is that I choose to love America, and I'm going to continue loving America until I don't love America anymore. I'm not sure what is going to happen to where I don't, but up till then, I'm going to just go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's brave. And, you know, it's trying to be, like, unpolitical, and it's actually extremely political at the same time, and we're in delicate times. You know, I think about just my own adulthood. Like, I came of age, like, I was in New York City when the towers were hit. Like, I was actually up there. Jamiroquai was having a record release party the night before.
Holy shit.
So I was up there on the 10th for the record release party and woke up to, like, 30 blocks from the Trade Center.
Oh my God.
And basically got stuck in New York for 3 days. So basically that was like when I went from, I just had graduated college that May. So it was like I went to young adulthood then. And ever since then, I've had this sort of toxic, polar perception of America and am I American? Also being, you know, growing up Jewish and stuff, and sort of the identifying with Israel, and then coming to realize that, like, Israel's a part of atrocities, and, like, how the fuck am I going to attach, like, my sense of ID to what's going on there, even though that's my family heritage, and, like, people have died. There's so many conflicting things. Then you throw in the fact that 2 of my friends from college died in the Trade Center. They were at their first job. They graduated college. They moved to New York City, and they went to work one day, and they never came home.
Yeah.
So I'm a white dude who probably give 0 fucks about how I feel when you walk by in Patriot, but, like, besides a person of color, just someone like me who's been so conflicted, like, I'm proud to be an American. I could only speak like this because I'm an American. We're only having this conversation and broadcasting it because we live here, and without fear, at least for now, of some sort of the man coming down and smote, whatever the Bible says. Right.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that because we live here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I've been ashamed long before Trump was president.
Right.
About America.
Yes.
On a lot of levels.
Yes.
And so when I see you portraying this patriotism, it's like a head scratcher, because you represent everything that is, like, double middle fingers, fuck you, establishment.
Yeah.
Yet there's not much more establishment in 2019 than the red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's just this weird dichotomy, and I'm glad you
Well,
explained
I
it.
think, I am a riddle wrapped in an enigma. That's also a big part of my personality. Like, if you look at my sign, I'm a Cancer sun with the Gemini moon, so I'm, like, kind of crazy. That's why I cry so much, because I'm a Cancer. I'm confused as fuck and can do anything and be happy with it, because I'm a Gemini. And then I have a Capricorn rising, which is a strong work ethic. So I think you put all that shit together, and I'm just, like, a befuddled, like, driven disaster, like a fucking train wreck.
Not unlike America.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why I'm confused, but I love myself, but I don't know where I'm going, but I like traveling. It's interesting. It's just an interesting time to be alive. And I am a very spiritual person. I do believe, this is my personal belief, that we all pick where we want to be born and unto what mother and unto what time. And I do feel I'm here for a reason, and I feel our tribe is also here with me at this time for a reason. Not sure what is coming, but I do feel something very interesting is coming. And I'm not saying that it's bad, and I'm not saying it's good. I just think I'm sitting back watching it happen, and I can't say that I'm bored.
Right.
At
least you're like safely in the country, so when shit pops off, at least you got some time before they get to you.
Or I just learned that Portland, where I just moved, has like 5 active volcanoes, like all right around it. So I mean, maybe that's what I'm here for, is just to fucking blow away into the ethers or something. But either way, like, I do feel I live my life with intention, and I do feel just being born, you're given intention, which is another reason I wanted to chat about where I'm at right now. We're doing this podcast at a dear friend from high school's music studio in Oakland. I've known him since I was 13, probably.
Such a cool space, too.
And he was best friends with my sister's boyfriend, who passed away from an overdose. He was really into heroin, and I lost my best friend from high school from heroin. And recently, the reason I'm here staying with my friend is because we lost one of our other mutual friends in that same circle from suicide, like about 2 months ago. So that's why I am in the studio right now instead of out getting drunk at a bar with like my 50 friends who all want to see me right now.
Right.
Because I'm here to like hold space for that, and that's why this podcast, being in this room, is really special to me, because I am looking around and seeing some of my sister's boyfriend's guitars.
Yeah, I took a picture of that right when it came.
Oh, you did?
Where else are you going to see a Jizza sticker next to I Know Us by the Trail?
Yeah, and the stiffs, and it's just, that's the other thing we're talking about, is like there's just a lot of, when you push to find yourself, there's a lot of death that happens.
Yeah.
You push yourself too far. And Kitty, my friend from high school who passed away, she was like the reason I became SMASHELTOOTH. She was like my fucking muse of my life. And like, I can't say she would have been my muse if she kept living.
Right.
Yeah, maybe in death she became my like spirit animal, a kitty, right? SMASHELTOOTH tiger.
Right.
This whole cat element, feline, prowling through the darkness, which I do through my music.
Yeah.
And that death becomes life, and life becomes death, and that whole beautiful fucking thing that we're doing, the dance we're doing now, and that's why I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid about Trump. I'm not afraid about nuclear war. Like, I just have faith that I've chosen this life, and I will be amused by what comes out of it at the end of my life, when I'm sitting on a rocking chair, or if I blow up into space in some nuclear war. Like, I feel comfort, even if it's a story, to know that I chose that, or to believe that I chose that life.
Yeah, and you're right. There's a lot of good people we lost along the way in figuring it out and, quote, finding ourselves, whether that's on a head full in the desert at a festival, or whether that's, copping fucking junk on a street corner, like, and sadly, no, both. I do, and I live to tell the tale, and I feel like a lot of those folks in my life that didn't, that's why I'm still here. Is they might not be my quote muse, if you will, but carrying a part of them with me, and kind of doesn't just keep me off the shit, but it also gives me some sort of like purpose to seek out folks like you and have this conversation and put on the air. It's like, how can we affect people's lives? Because we are doing this dance between life and death, and it can all change in an instant.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be impactful, not just make asses shake, although that's awesome, and that's why we show up and pay our cover, but also make people think and cry.
Yes.
And
well, the asses shaking is rejoicing that we're alive. We're,
Right.
When you see all the sunflowers in a field looking to the sun, I feel on the dance floor when all the asses are looking to the DJ booth,
Right.
It's like we're happy to be alive and we're celebrating life.
Yeah.
And the more we celebrate life, the more we deserve to be alive.
It's also a primitive urge to like hear drums and to shake ass. Like, it's been going on for thousands of years in tribes and all kinds of different ceremonials.
It's like our mating dance.
Yeah, it's all the things. But we talked off the air about something that I want to bring up. I don't want to make you too emotional, but
No,
at the same time, it's the moment when I was like, I have to know you, even though I took 2.5 years and a friend losing a leg to actually have the conversation. But you made a post shortly into motherhood. I was like finally sort of at the aftermath of the ghost ship.
Yeah.
And you had a newborn.
Yes.
And you were confronting a lot. I mean, it's readily available on your social media, so I'm not like betraying your confidence to talk about this, but you dealt with substance abuse and death and feeling a sort of greater sense of purpose than you ever had because of the loss of Johnny and sort of the symbolism there with the ghost ship and how maybe you escaped, if not that night, then sort of in general, like you got to live and a lot of folks didn't.
Right.
And then like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
And then also, you've been blessed with everyone walks out the front door and wants to meet the one and then have the family and like you're getting all that.
I know,
you
it's
met
pretty
the
crazy.
guy,
I
you
sometimes
got the son.
I feel like survivor's guilt sometimes.
Right. That's what I'm building towards here. That's what I got out of that post. Is like, and it was really ironic that you picked this really, you called it cheesy white boy reggae, whatever. Just sort of something that you wouldn't find the depth of these thoughts and emotions that you're conveying in that music on the surface level.
Yeah.
But it was Sound of the Sea was what it's called, right?
Which is ironic because a baby being in you is there. That's all they're hearing floating around in that embryonic fluid.
What was that whole thing like for you? Because like I read that post. I hope our listeners like go and I don't know if a ton of listeners, a couple thousand, but they want to go.
I'm amazed that you ever. The fact that I don't think anyone has ever come back and said that it meant anything to them or that they even like. I just thank you.
I made sure that guy Scott got the post.
Scott, who?
From Stick Figure.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did he actually read it?
I gave it to someone who told me that she delivered it to him. That's as far as I got.
Saw like him tagged in it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I got I have
a friend who
celebrity
knows them,
fright or whatever.
And I was like, "You need to make sure this dude knows that this music reached this."
I mean,
gal
God,
this way.
I can't listen. That's another song other than that one Jerry song on Not for Kids Only. There are a few songs I can't listen to without crying. Like every time. It doesn't matter where I'm at. If it comes on the radio and I'm partying, like it puts me in this whole. It's not bad at all. It's beautiful, but that song, Sound of the Sea, because I'm really afraid to sing. And for some reason, that song really made me want to sing it.
To your son?
No, because he wasn't born yet. So
you were carrying him?
Yeah, I was 2 weeks to delivery, and the ghost ship fire happened.
Right.
And ironically, a family tribe family friend passed away in the fire, whose name was Johnny.
Right.
I didn't know Johnny personally, but he died in the fire, and I thought it was really ironic because, we're naming our son Johnny.
After John.
Yes, after a John,
right.
Who's also a DJ. And so this song, I started listening to it a lot because I wanted to learn all the words so I could sing it to my son. And when I was listening to it, it talks about... I can't. I have to hold my tears. It talks about going home and you want to go back to where you come from, and so I felt like I was in the middle of the circle of life where I had all these people. I know a dear friend, Audrey, who escaped that fire with her life, barely with her life. All these people were dying, and then there are people being born, and it was the song "Sound of the Sea," and it was all about returning to your home. And in the song, there's this part where it's like you want to see their face, and I felt like I had seen my son before, and I missed him so badly, and he was finally coming to me. I was finally about to see this face that I hadn't seen in so fucking whatever happens to us before we come here.
Right.
And I was finally just about to see him, and when I was just about to see him, all these people passed. So it was hard to celebrate new life when all these wave of grief right into new life. But also that was like the fucking circle of life,
right.
And it was the beauty of life, and Taylor from Made Fresh crew in Santa Cruz came to our house and painted this beautiful fucking mural. He spent 3 days on it with 3 other friends. So there were all these people in our house painting this gorgeous mural. And there was a tiger sitting in a pot field and an ocean with a pirate ship on it. And there's an island in the middle. That's with all these perfect. Like clown noses. On Mac Dre was coming out of the treasure chest, and but he painted the ghost ship in the mural, and I was like, fuck, like I have to nurse I've never been a mom before, I have to nurse my baby and look at death like staring me in the face. But this song kind of made it like okay to celebrate life, and it was okay to celebrate the circle of life and this passing and this rebirth and celebration of just wanting to be here on this planet, but also knowing there's some place we go and there's some place we come from, which is home. And I do feel on this planet very far away from that. And I felt the people who had just passed and my son coming into life were closer to home than I was. And then you add the element of not being able to sing and picking that song as the song you're going to sing to your child, to your baby, as a lullaby. And it just becoming this whole, like, fighting your fear of singing, first of all, on a base level, fighting your fear of death, fighting your fear of birth. Like, what if something goes wrong? Actually, something did go wrong. He had to get, after 21 hours of labor, he had to get vacuumed out. Part of my vagina fell off, literally, like fell onto the hospital floor. I burst both my blood vessels in my eyes from trying to get him out of there, and they almost went into emergency C-section, but they actually ended up pulling him out with a vacuum, and it was without painkillers, by the way, because I thought I was going to be very heroic and not do painkillers, which I think was not the best move ever. But all that being said, birth is death sometimes, and death is birth sometimes, and we're all in the fucking middle of it. And I'm here for the ride, and that song, just all the lyrics and the just beauty of the song, the melody of the song, the song about the sea and the ghost ship, swimming through the sea of life, and all these people that had just passed. I mean, it just is a profound healing song for me, almost like an Icaro.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's my story. Like I said, other people, and it's funny because my husband doesn't like white boy reggae music. So he's like, oh God, stick figure, like turn that stick figure off. So when I wrote about cheesy white boy reggae, it was because I'm almost embarrassed because my husband has really good taste in music, and he
particularly reggae.
Yeah, particularly reggae, and he does not like me listening to, or he doesn't like listening to that kind of music. So yeah, it was a profound healing song.
Really, really amazing. What you communicated in that piece of I'm a writer, so it's like, it really was so powerful that, like I said, I've returned to it again,
means a lot to me.
Several times. And I just thought it helped uncover a whole lot of like human shit, like all the stuff you discussed with death and life and the cycle. And I mean, I don't know you, but I think it's safe to say, like, nothing you do is, like, gentle or easy, or, like, it's always a hurricane or, like, just, like, a tidal wave. And of course, your first kid was going to be that physically, and then all the emotional stuff coming with it. And I just thought you really conveyed that in such a way that I felt like I knew you after reading that, and I felt like it made me like want to sort of explore more of who you were as an artist, knowing that like that's what your heart was about.
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Yeah. The other thing about my son too, and I couldn't understand it at the time, but we have this owl connection, and I got my Reiki attunement once, and I told my Reiki master, I was like, I saw this vision of this owl, and he's like, you can't have owls, it's bad, it's Native Americans say it brings death, it's a bad omen. And I was like, what do you mean I can't have owls? That's what I saw in my vision. Like, you can't tell me I didn't see something that I saw. Right. And the 2 days before he was born, Johnny Ryder was born, I was out for a walk with my doula, and this huge, like, 5-foot wingspan owl flew right over our fucking heads and, like, away into the forest. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, my Reiki master's talking about death spirits, and the fire ship, the ghost ship just happened. And it was just like, but it was beautiful. It was like, this is right, and this feels right. And, like, once again, I was reminded of my Reiki master, who I also had to fight with for my spiritual right to believe in what I believed in. And, I just really, and my kid loves owls. He has like 5 owl puppets, and is always talking to these owls before he goes to bed at night, looking out of the window and stuff. And so that's not something that I made up or made him believe or something. It just is like, it is that. And it's cool to think that it would just be like a happenstance or an accident, but it's obviously bigger than that.
Yeah. And that's something that you can't, there's no way you can make that happen. It just has to happen, whether it's the flyover or Johnny being into it. It's like, you can't sort of design that. It just is. Yeah. And that's what lets you know that there's like bigger shit in this universe than us.
Oh, and the ghost ship happening, and then Johnny passing away in the ghost ship and giving birth to a Johnny, just a few days later. I mean, what a fucking...
It was really heavy.
What a trip,
There was an article about that Johnny that passed.
Okay.
In whether it was SF Gate or it might have been the Oakland paper, but because they've like done a expose or feature on almost everybody whose family would participate enough to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
There's been a series of them, and I think he even won a Pulitzer.
Wow. Oh my God.
The Oakland paper, for the coverage of, is it up for
a Pulitzer,
or it actually won the Pulitzer for its coverage of the ghost ship period. So the individuals, the legal side of it, they did an interview with a couple of the guys that were locked up behind it and so forth.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And I had just kind of gotten to this community, and I'd been to a bunch of parties out here, but never there.
Yeah.
I've been invited there once, but never actually went there. It's not anything I could get close to or like understand, but at the same time, it's just a member of the music community, the art community, and the grief and the pain and the depths of the despair. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, it was definitely stamped into a lot of our lives.
Yeah, it was a rude awakening on so many.
Yeah,
so many levels.
But it's crazy because John Perry Barlow actually posted some comment about it. John Perry Barlow has passed since then also, but that look around at all the dark art that was there, the dark art, is calling in darkness.
Yeah.
It's just like we were talking about, like dancing to music. It's like you want to put out like a light, a joy of being alive. If you fixate on death too much, whether it be through drugs or through depression or through art or through music, like it can bring you there. It's like a signal that you show to whatever you put your energy into, you're going to receive back. And I believe that too. So having it be such a place of dark art is that's what John Perry Barlow said. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure I'm totally on board with that, but I thought it was an interesting insight.
I mean, it definitely
into what happened.
Is a fair assessment. I think specifically with him, I mean, he's lived through like a whole lot of cycles of the psychedelic community and stuff that's happened, going back to the halcyon days of the Haight-Ashbury all the way up through, him passing away in the past year and a half or whatever. And I didn't know till I got out here that he was so interwoven in like the proto burner community too.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that he wrote all the weird lyrics and dead songs.
Yeah.
So is a special guy.
Yeah.
I want to finish up with something that when I think of you, I think of Mac Dre. So I'm from the East Coast, and it's, in the deified hip hop cat is Biggie. And then, of course, West Coast, you think of Tupac.
Yeah.
Right. But near where I live, when I go for a little walk around the lake, there's a giant, huge depiction of Mac Dre. And I knew about him. Obviously, I'm a hip-hop head. So I knew about him because my boy moved out here in 2003, and he was like, there's 2 Dre's you need to know about, and neither of them are Dr. Dre. Andre Nicotina and Mac Dre.
Yeah.
And he just put me on game, way back then. So I was aware of him, and then I knew that he had passed, tragically. But it wasn't until I got introduced to SMASHELTOOTH that I really understood the depth of this dude's influence. So much beyond just Oakland
I would inspire that out of all people.
Well, to a music historian like me, I need to know more because this girl's you're waving the Fizz flag pretty fucking far and wide. And it's wow, what about him? And then that dove in.
Oh, don't get me started.
Well, no, that's the last thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah, no, I love it.
What about Mac Dre?
You do want to get me started.
Made it.
Well, I mean, I could start at the beginning. So I was living in LA when Mac Dre died. I never even knew about hyphy music, to be quite honest. I was a late bloomer in my whole life, and when I came back and met Andrew and got into the whole bass scene, I went to my girlfriend's house and I heard the most amazing there were 2 times I remember this happening in my life. One was the first time I heard Sizzla, where I leaned out of someone's car and I was like, what is that music? It blew my goddamn mind. I never heard anything that good in my fucking life. And I was like,
what the song was?
No, I've been trying to find it. It's some B-side dance hall song that I never heard again since that I bought the album at that time. And I lost it, and I don't remember with the album now because he's got 50 albums or something. Right. But I need to get the anthology and look through the whole thing because it was one specific song, and if I heard it, I would know what it was. But I've since lost it in translation, and it actually bugs me because I think about what a fucking sick song that would be. Anyway, so Sizzla, literally diving out of my car to figure out what the hell that music was because it was the best shit I ever heard. And the same thing with Mac Dre's Hyphy where he sings with Doobie, who's in prison now, probably forever, unfortunately. They do a really good job at getting those guys put behind bars, but really sad. But so it was Hyphy by Mac Dre and Doobie, and it was the same aha moment, what the fuck is this music? Is the best shit I've ever heard in my life. And I just went straight into Mac Dre land. But this was after he had died already. Not a lot of people know that about me. I'm kind of when we first started this podcast, you're what part of Oakland are we in? I'm I live in Santa Cruz. I don't know what part of Oakland I'm in. So there's this part of me that doesn't want to front I'm some big Mac Dre expert and went to all of his shows when he was here, and I even knew who the fuck he was back then. I didn't know who he was. So when I heard Mac Dre, I had heard it for the first time, so all I wanted to do when I went out to DJ was DJ Mac Dre songs. And I remember playing at Emissions Festival, the first or second Emissions Festival ever. And this guy, I finished my set, everyone was dancing, all the people loved it, whatever. This one guy was why would I pay all this money to come all the way to this festival and listen to a bunch of rap music that I've been listening to for 10 fucking years that I could listen to on KMEL on the radio back at home? And I was oh shit, that was the first time I ever got that response where he was I listen to this shit all the time. I came all the way out here to listen to electronic music, and now you're playing me shit I've listened to on KMEL or old Mac Dre songs. But to me, that music was new. Right. I had never heard it before. I did grow up in the Bay. I do remember I owned Too Short's first album when I was in the 3rd grade. I remember listening to it with my friend in the 3rd grade in her living room. So I was listening to Too Short, but I never got into Mac Dre. And when I first heard him, not only was I amazed by the instrumentals, which are phenomenal, but also
Did he do a lot of the production too?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the guy. Actually, the guy that made a bunch of his music just passed away recently. But his lyrics are the most insanely fucking just eloquent, just dopest, just freshest, funniest, realest lyrics that I think Biggie and Tupac can't even top put together, honestly. And the other thing is what he did was he brought ecstasy and Thiz pills and mushrooms and acid into the hip hop community. And so you see all these like badass gangsters trying to be all tough and hard like Tupac or Biggie. Right. And then all of a sudden they're wearing like these huge sunglasses and like these silly hats and like blowing bubbles and like, you know, getting stupid on the dance floor and doing the bird like a nerd. And he was okay with being a nerd. Right. And so I was like, oh my God, I found my spirit animal, because it's this guy who is a self-proclaimed nerd and a clown and really uses humor as a healing tool. And one of my girlfriends would always say, thugs need hugs. You know, thugs need hugs too. And I do feel that Mac Dre brought hugs to the thugs.
Yeah, he definitely was the first cat. Before people were rapping about Molly and shit, he was, you know, bringing pressed ecstasy pills to the party.
Yes, to the party. And people were just happy again and felt safe. And you could see it in all the videos.
Well, there was all that. In the culture of hip-hop back then, it was like this East Coast, West Coast schism. And then there was this whole, like, puffy, shiny suit thing happening. And I'm in Philly. I love the Roots, and then I love like Andre 3000. So I'm like I can't really subscribe to that sort of jiggy shit. And I'm not a gangbanger. Yeah. You know, and so as a white dude from the burbs, if it was like not the Beastie Boys, it was like hard for me to plug in. And ironically, all these years later, it's like a guy like Mac Dre brought this sort of psychedelic, fun-loving shit to hip-hop, almost like forget Too Short, it's almost like Digital Underground, that sort of like fun, let's put on some costumes and some funky clothes and shake it out without a care, but it still made you think.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of depth to the lyrics.
So, I mean, he has one song, Life's a Bitch, if you listen to it. I've tried to play at parties before, but people are just really not into it. Just all about the struggles of black people in this society. And you listen to it, and he talks about everything that happened to him in his life, why he got arrested for no reason, why all his friends are in jail, why he raps about offensive stuff. He says, I spit vengeance, violence, and hatred because underneath there's so much pain. And this is a lyric that I've used to defend my music very often. I'm like, people are like, why is this music violent? Why are you playing this violent music? Why are you playing music that's offensive to women? And I'm like, well, because I spit pain because I have pain. Like, it's like, how else and that's alchemy. That's the beauty of music. That's turning something that makes you feel sick and gross and nasty and unworthy into something that that makes you feel like you belong and that you own, ultimately. And I think Mac Dre was like Rasputin. He's a fucking alchemist. He was an amazing lyrical genius. He knew how to turn pain into happy, hyphy music. Right.
But sadly, the streets took him.
Yeah. You know? And the streets did. And I'm lucky I don't have to deal with that. I mean, lucky is an understatement. Like, I feel like an imposter a lot of the times. Like, I went into a hair cutting place to give my son his first haircut in Portland, and the people cutting the hair were the only people in all of Portland since I moved there that knew what my tattoo was. Right. They're like, what? That's Mac Dre, oh my God. And that's another thing, like a family, like a tribe. It's like a Mac Dre tribe, right. You know? Yeah. It's like a steal your face. Right. It's a Mac Dre face. It's a Thiz face.
That's exactly what it was. It's like kindred spirits.
Signature.
It's like, I know you.
Exactly.
I don't know you, but I know you.
Yes, it's the signa. It was really profound, you know, and I know I'm a white girl repping Mac Dre. I actually had made some Mac Dre remixes that Mac Dre's label found out about and tried to like hustle me for all this money just to release songs that I wasn't even going to charge anybody for. And I've also had a struggle with that. I'm like, would Mac Dre want me to not put this song out, it's a really good fucking song, by the way. Or like, do you think he would want me to like rep him and put this fucking song out? And at the end of the day, I can't put the song out because his estate wants money from it. Right. And that's where I'm just getting tired. I'm getting exhausted dealing with Babylon in that way, where I can't praise art the way that I want to without having some ego or some money stapled onto it, you know? I know Mac Dre would be bummed.
Yeah, definitely.
I made, actually, this is another funny story, when the Jacka passed, I was super pregnant too. This was like right before the Ghost Ship. and I went to go make an Elliott Smith remix, and it turned out to be a Jacka tribute. I don't even know how that happened, but I was listening to this Elliott Smith song all the time, and then
That's
I
what you were listening when you were pregnant, was Elliott Smith?
Yeah.
No one is dark. I mean, I got a lot of respect for him, rest in peace, but that's not uplifting.
Well, it's not, but it is. Rose Parade is pretty uplifting, in my opinion.
Well, I just meant, when I think of him, I just think of his story, and his music is really like melancholy.
It's
by
so
nature.
melancholy.
Right.
But somehow this Elliott
brilliant
Smith thing,
songwriter.
yes,
Brilliant.
Yeah, this Elliott Smith remix I was gonna do turned into a Jacka tribute, so that's on my SoundCloud
Right on.
too. And it's not even a song that anyone would want to dance to. It's just a piece about my feelings of it, and I'm really proud of it, just in the way that it moves me, not in the way that it would be on an album and everyone would want to buy it and download it and dance to it. That's not what my intention was. It's more of like a feeling. It's like a sound project, or a sound healing project. So yeah, that might be worth checking out if you haven't listened to it.
I would love to.
That song makes me cry. Like, if I can even make a song that makes myself cry, then I probably have done a good job making the track.
I cry in music all the time, so I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, I wanted to, first of all, about the Mac Dre thing, it's unfortunate, and I see how that can be frustrating, how you like, just want to do a tribute and like continue to like have the effect that you did on me, where it's like, oh, he's just another rapper that died, and then like, wow, SMASHELTOOTH about it, I better check this out. And now I'm a fan of Mac Dre, primarily because you drove me to the party.
I love it.
And so if the people that are in control of the estate, yeah, exactly. Ghost ride the whip.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the people, but understand, and I'm sure you know this, that the people that are in charge of his estate and his music are really tired of like people in the community just taking some lyric he laid down for a bag of money one day,
totally,
and then like turning into the song and then
stealing it,
right?
Yeah, and they're used to that all day.
Right, so they're not
You're
seeing
absolutely
you
right.
as this fan; they're seeing you as just another person that's trying
and that
to
really, you're right,
commodify, and that's unfortunate, but they're conditioned to that. So don't want to demonize them for putting the kibosh on your song, because it probably comes from a place where they're protecting him.
You know, you're absolutely right, and I should have already said that as a disclaimer. So thank you for saying it.
I think you know it already.
I do know. I know everything about it. I know exactly why. I actually admire these guys.
Right.
I look up to them. I've talked to them. They're really respectful to me on the phone. They're not mean to me at all. They're all business.
Right.
And I have heard of them. My friend made a T-shirt with Mac Dre's image on it, and they went after them like a pit bull. And I do see it, because everyone's
Fish
doing
does
that all
to
the
people
time.
Still. And Fish has more money than they know what to do with. But you put Trey's face on a shirt, he's coming for you.
Yeah,
it's just like, because where do you draw the line?
But but Mac Dre, those people don't have. I mean, I'm sure they're well enough to do, but they aren't like Fish, probably.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They
need to protect the estate.
Right.
So I totally understand that, and I respect it fully. It just bums me out because I wasn't trying to be that guy.
Yeah, of course.
But they don't know how to discern that, and that's fine.
And that's fair. Yeah. Well, I want to finish with two things. One, I was going to finish with Mac Dre. We're at an hour 10. You got 10 more minutes?
Sure, yeah.
But you had mentioned about being exhausted, and you referenced it with the whole Mac Dre thing. But in the beginning of the interview, you talk a bigger picture about being exhausted.
Yes.
Of the battles that you've had as a woman in the industry, what you've had to overcome, and then what you've kind of learned from motherhood, and what you want out of life now, and all that stuff. So I want to know, when you kicked the door down in 2008. Like, I'm here, SMASHELTOOTH, hear me roar, and now we're talking in 2019. You got a little one, you're married. Yeah. As a culture, as a woman, as a culture, like I said, I want to sit down and talk to inspiring women for the podcast, doing it, and I want the straight dope. Like, are we better? Like, do you feel as a woman that the you that stepped into the ring in 2008, like if you were to just show up in 2019, are the conditions better for a woman in the music culture?
Oh my God!
Forget the culture at large.
Yeah.
Just in our little sector of the world. Was it better then? Is it better now? Are we improving? Are we devolving? I mean, did Me Too help? Did it not?
That's a really good
question. I'm asking all the women that come on the show. I
love that question. It has a lot of layers. I mean, and you can look at it two different ways. I like to think that coming in now with the Me Too movement, that I would be a lot more respected. I also feel like it's like affirmative action. Like, now people expect to have females at at shows and music festivals. I actually have heard in the past, I'm not going to this festival because there's no women on it. And then someone responds, oh, actually, there's SMASHELTOOTH and this other person and this other person. So sometimes people just don't do their research first.
But seriously, three artists, 40 artists.
Yeah.
Come on.
But also, this is a male-dominated industry. It is the way that it's always been. I think there's something about... the technicalities of it and having to learn this machinery is kind of like a traditionally male-oriented profession where you have to learn like how equipment works and really dig into it. It costs a lot of money to have to be a DJ. It costs a lot of money to have those turntables. Like I always wanted turntables. I had a record collection. I used to work at JK Sound in San Francisco. I worked at California Sound and Lighting in San Diego. And I had a record collection, but I could never afford the actual turntables.
Yeah, so Technic 1200s were never cheap.
When I got with Andrew, so this is like the crux about the whole men helping women thing is like I needed that equipment. I wasn't with him for that, but it was like an added bonus that, oh, hey, I got all this shit now I could practice on.
Right.
I really think it's important to educate other women about how to do stuff and also educate them on how to do stuff without relying on
dudes.
Yeah, dudes or just expensive equipment.
Right.
Or dudes with expensive equipment. Something...
DJing's a really primitive thing in its core essence. It's just two tables and a mixer.
Right.
You want to have nice shit, but at the end of the day, you could learn on what you got.
On virtual DJ but you do kind of need a piece of computer equipment.
Sure.
Kind of something. And I really like to find a way of getting around that. My passion, and I've been... I started Producer Social in Santa Cruz, which was started by Stefan Jacobs in LA. So I started the Santa Cruz chapter, and I really like to start a Portland chapter. But the problem that I keep running into is all the women that I want to teach how to DJ who have a great sense of music style, and I know they do because they keep sending me tracks. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I want you to DJ for me. Like I just want them to DJ out of selfish reasons. They can't afford music equipment,
right?
So I would really like to find a way around that. And also, I think just like politics try to break up the people that are actually on the same front fighting for the same things, I think a lot of women tend to get really jealous. And instead of coming together and creating together, they fight with each other and they're jealous of each other. And I can't say that I'm completely innocent of not ever doing that.
Human nature also.
And it's competition,
right?
And, primal wanting to get on the stage and all these things. And I think it's really important that the women stick together. I think we're in an environment now where it's even more accepted that women stick together as DJs and producers, where they support each other. I think before it was kind of felt more of like clamoring over each other or like fighting each other or not supporting each other. And I feel like there's more of a oneness now, maybe from the Me Too movement. And so that's really exciting. But I think the lack of money, the jealousy, other than those two things, I think we're on a better playing field at this point. But I can't say that I don't want to play like one of the boys. Right. I don't want to be... I've never liked all-women lineups. I always thought that was really offensive.
It was just contrived.
Because most of the time, honestly, men are throwing the parties and making the money from that shtick. And then second of all, I don't want to be slotted with a bunch of women just because we all have vaginas. Right. I want to be a good DJ.
Because you're dope.
Because I'm sick as a DJ. I don't give a shit if you have a penis or a vagina. Like, I want that good time slot. I don't want it because I have a vagina. So there's that kind of backpedaling, too, that's happening right now where I feel sometimes I just get booked because I have a vagina and I'm better than most of the guys DJing out there lately, and I really do believe that.
I would say that's
another story.
At the top tier for sure, and you approach it. There's nothing that I can't stand more than the press play Ableton, like just sort of not a turntablist or not a selective, but just okay. I've got my set ready. I got it on a little disk drive. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to drag and drop. No, like, you may not be on turntables, but you're a turntablist. You're rocking the party as such.
Right.
And and you, whether you're digital or not, you both, and Andrew too, you guys are the old school blueprint of a selecta.
So much so that we're annoying people because like come to the party like tonight with like my old gear from like 8 years ago, and I'm just like, this is what I'm playing on. And the reason I play on this old gear is because I have access to my entire music library.
And it's an aesthetic too. It's like yours. You don't need to be the fucking brand new shit, and that's not who you are anyway.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's interesting. I like that you said it like that because I think I'm lagging or lacking in this like virtuous new technology that everyone's on. Yeah. But what works for me, and if you don't like it, don't book me. Yeah. Kind of thing.
There you have it. That's a great note to walk off on, but I always am one too many. So I'm going to go one more. You were talking a moment ago, before we talked about Mac Dre, you said before that it was Sizzla, right? So I also had a come to Jesus thing with Sizzla. Both Sizzla and Anthony B at the same time.
Yes. So good.
When I was like 18, 19, went away to college, had no idea about that music. I obviously knew like Bob Marley and Black Uhuru and Steel Pulse, but I didn't know about Bobo. I didn't know about that sort of 1 foot in Rasta, 1 foot in the dance hall thing. And Sizzla's like my dude. And through it all... Yeah, but I'm conflicted, and like my partner who enjoys a lot of Sizzla songs, we can't can't support him in the home. We can't. I have this amazing poster of him, and we can't. Oh,
goosebumps
right?
again.
Because when like the beginning of this interview, you talked about people can't peg you. Are you a lesbian? Are you not? You have this androgynous thing that is a part of who you are. That the no ma'am. And like, Sizzla don't play that.
Yeah, no,
not even a little bit, and he'll tell you why, and it's offensive. Like, forget the bitch trap music offensive. This is another level of hatred, wishing death upon people.
Yes,
and it's hard to rationalize that with the black woman and child.
Yeah,
and just the beautiful, heart-filling hymn. Gospel nature of Sizzla's music.
Okay.
And this is the conversation I'm having with my partner and I'm having in the community. Right,
yes.
Like, how do you walk that? How do you...
I take it completely objectively. This is his religion, and Rastafarian religion. If two males come together, they are not able to procreate. Rastafarians are all about procreation and procreating life. They're not about science. That's their religion. They're not going to go test tubing to make a baby. If gay people take over the world, they're dead. This is what they sing about. It's not what I personally believe, because I believe in science. I believe in love of whoever you want to love. For him, his religion states the opposite of that. And I have to respect that. I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't born there. All us white people hating on that weren't born in fucking Jamaica. You'd be the same way if you lived in Jamaica.
Probably.
So I take a step back. I hope, and I think, and I've seen that he might be thinking otherwise, and maybe he's said a couple things publicly that that he's kind of thinking about accepting the gay community.
No, that's just to acquiesce so that he can get a visa to perform. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's how it's...
who knows?
I want to wave the flag. Like, I love him on a really deep, profound level. So much that I search for what you're describing here. Like, how do I rationalize this to myself? How do I look my gay friends in the eye when I've got a framed picture of him on my wall?
I have a friend, PETA, who dances, who's gay, who takes Bati Boy music and dances to it in a sexual way. He loves Sizzla. Right. He dances to it. He's like, "Fuck you! I love your music. I'm gonna get gay to your music." And it's another kind of alchemy,
right?
And it's how do you want to approach it? Do you want to tit for tat and hate on hate, or do you want to love the hate that he has, or do you want to dance and fucking freak and be gay to the hate? There's all these different ways that you can look at it. How I look at it. I love Sizzla. I don't care if you don't like that I love Sizzla. I'm going to wave the Sizzla flag. I wave it, and maybe it's a fallback like that. I just blame or whatever his religion for his personal beliefs. But I wasn't born in Jamaica. He wasn't born in Oakland. He wasn't raised with gay aunts and gay uncles and gay parents.
Right.
Also, if he claims that being gay is okay, he loses his career
and his
community, and it's like he's almost kind of held up at gunpoint. Even if he's into it, he can't ever say that he is, because he'll lose his entire everything that his tribe. His tribe will kick him out. If you imagine him going to bass shows, but they're dance hall shows in Jamaica, and someone's like, it's not okay to be gay there, and he's like, I'm gay, or like gay, to be gay is okay. He gets kicked out of his community, and it's like not fair for us to like be raised in this white ass fucking place and think that it's okay to not accept people from other cultures and religions.
I can accept it in terms of like, I understand what you're telling me here. And I guess the way it's been put to me is like, okay, so respecting it and like supporting it and putting it on the stereo and putting it on your wall and putting it in your sets is a lot different than acknowledging his right to hate and wish vitriol on gay folks. And
well, to him it's death.
Death, right? And to me, that's just
he doesn't have test tubes and
right. I get that
things.
I'm just saying, like, so it's hard for me. It's just hard for me to write. And I wanted to ask someone who felt passionately about it. How do you make it work? Because I'm struggling with it. Because I love his music on a really deep level, and I also and that goes for to a lesser extent Capleton, Anthony B.
Yeah.
That whole Bobo Shanti militant. The music that comes out of that culture is second to none in the reggae world.
It's survival. It's that root chakra. It's that primal birth fucking red chakra of procreating and creating life forever and ever and ever, and it's supposed to be self-sustainable, and it is righteous when it gets to that point.
I get that.
I think they're gonna be up for a sad view on life when they see how science and technology is really infiltrating humanity just as a whole. That gay people can make babies. Right. I think when they can wrap their brains around that, then maybe they won't be praising like they are,
Yeah, I guess, at the end of the day, like a guy like Buju disavows everything, but at the same time, like the song he's most known for is the gay bashing song with Boom Bye Bye. Yeah. Right? And I, as a youth, champion, Boom Bye Bye. Oh, I love that shit, but I didn't really know what I was championing.
Right.
I just was like, this shit is ill, and it makes me feel some type of way. But I had to confront that with SZA.
Interesting.
And my issue with it is that I would stand back and be like, you know what, that's his right, and I'm going to sing the lyrics that I enjoy, and I'm going to stay away from this. The slackness I can deal with.
Yeah,
It's the really dark anti-gay stuff. Yeah. But then when I see what that empowers people to do in Jamaica, like the way they hurt gay people and like they live in fear, it's hard. Those songs then take a different meaning.
Yeah, like you're participating in that violence.
And so that's what I struggle with as a fan of SZA.
It's interesting because I went to Reggae on the River last time. I went to both. I went to every time that he played at Reggae on the River. Reggae on the River was my first festival, and I was pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant, and he sang 9 months. Thank you, Mama.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mama, for the 9 months you carried me through all the pain and the suffering. That was my story and my experience that I felt a profound healing from that song when I was pregnant dancing to Sizzla. It doesn't have to be someone else's story. Someone else's story is that you can't listen to him because he's offensive or
but that's
incredibly
the light
homophobic.
Side of it. That's like for the darkness, like the light where you're talking about procreation. Like, so if he's going to be wishing death upon gays, like the other side of that is like, thank you, Mama, for like trusting in the universal plan of the Creator and why we're here.
Yes.
And you're entitled to get that out of it, and you should. Especially since you're acknowledging that there's the other side of the coin too.
Yes, and I do see that, and it is
because I feel like you're a champion of love, of like be yourself and fuck who you want, and like
I've gotten 86th from playing certain parties because I like Sizzla. There's certain people that won't book me ever again because I have advocated for Sizzla. Yeah. So that's another part of this whole dance that we're doing as musicians is the politics. I didn't sign up for the politics, but I sign up for what I love and what I believe in, and my story. My story is my story, and no one can take that from me. I don't care if you're black or white or gay or straight or anything. I like what I like, and I'm gonna like it till I die. And if you don't like that, suck a dick.
That's a perfect one to end on right there. Yeah, that's the attitude in a nutshell, and who you are and what you're about. And hopefully some folks that are struggling with this sort of thing with Sizzla or just culture in general will just take some sort of solace to understand you're not alone. You're not alone, I'm not alone. Like this is a two-sided coin, and it's okay to like it, and it's okay to,
not like it. It's okay to be different from each other. That's what makes the world go around.
Agree to disagree and all that
stuff.
Stuff.
Hopefully. Yeah. Agree to disagree. Yeah.
Well, it depends who you ask, right? Cool. Well, I'm excited to dance tonight and for our friend Greg.
I'm so excited to play.
Yeah, it's going to be
such
great.
an honor.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special dude.
I've never met him.
Yeah. He's a big fan of yours.
This is what the music's all about, I feel so honored that I could go raise money for someone who lost his leg who I've never even met before. Like, what a gift that is for me to get to do that. He's a good egg. You know what's funny is we're doing a fundraiser for him, and he donated to my dog's fundraiser, which I was like, I'm supposed to be giving you money, you're not supposed to be giving me money. And he was the first person to donate. My dog's having surgery next week, and he donated money to me. So it goes to show what goes around comes around. He's got a big heart, and the leg is badass. The prosthetic limb is a super badass piece of machinery. You'll see it in action tonight. Awesome. Well, I want to say thanks for taking the time. This was a good chat. Thank you. Better than I thought. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Check out SMASHELTOOTH on SoundCloud. Best way to find it, right? Yes. Cool. Yeah, your page is awesome. Lots of great mixes. I love the Immaculate Deception. Yes. And Duddy Wine. Duddy Wine is my favorite one. And even You're the Cock, if I'm in the right word. That's a good one. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. You're feeling raunchy. Right. Cool. Well, we'll see you tonight. This is the Up for Life podcast with SMASHELTOOTH. I'm your host, B. Getz, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming all over my face. Yes, indeedy. Want to thank Ashley, SMASHELTOOTH, for coming on the Up for Life podcast and dropping in for such a just really warm and engaging and introspective powwow on so many topics. Hope to have more of that kind of conversation on this program moving forward. Leland River dropped this Portishead remix, Camp Question Mark, at like 5:48 a.m. Sunday morning. I have no idea whose actual Portishead remix it is, but it is like absolute perfection. So if I knew where it was or could pull the whole track, it would be the Vibe Junkie Jam of the Week. But this other track that will be, and is the Vibe Junkie Jam of the Week, is called Dirty Daddy. Originally by Great Dane, but I'm going to go with the Oak remix. Oak, O-A-K-K, all caps, is just this cat with the magic touch. I was talking to the person the other day online just about how enamored with Oak I am. I have no idea who he is. He could walk by me. I'd have
no idea. But I've been hype on this dude. He's from the British Columbia, Canadian part of the whole Base Coast Shambhala world that I so hope to explore one day, live and direct. But anyway, this cat Oak, he dropped the Sizzle tape. He's got like a Missy Elliott remix that we bump all the time. His Shambhala tape is dope. His Base Coast tape, Boiler Room. Dude is prolific, and he's got the magic touch. So, yeah, check him out. OAKK, all caps, out of Canada. And hopefully, I've pinged him on the social. He's never really gotten back to me. So I would love to connect with this dude. But in the meantime, I'm just going to dap him up and stand for him on my show. And in the meantime, please enjoy this absolutely sexy and sultry and lusty and torrid. It's all the things. It was omnipresent, not only on the Ply, but so many DJs have worked it into their set. It's almost like probably jumped the shark by the time it trickles down to me. But I don't give a fuck. I'm going to play it. And we're going to sign off for episode 22 of the Up for Life podcast. Oak remix of Great Dane's Dirty Daddy. And we'll see you next time. This is your host, B. Getz, the Up for Life podcast. Aloha means goodbye.